POV shift. I used to think Earth was a minor curiosity, a backwater planet swirling in the arm of an unremarkable galaxy. That was before we landed. My name is Valtor Syn, first strategist of the Xerex Dominion, and I've studied over 100 sentient species across the stars. All of them followed a pattern: primitive curiosity, followed by submission once they realized what we were. Our empire has lasted for millennia because we always identify threats early. Earth was not a threat. The report was almost insulting in its simplicity. Dominant species, carbon-based mammals, prone to tribal conflict, emotional irrationality, and over-reliance on digital entertainment. Recommended for rapid subjugation. So we sent a standard pacification squad, 3 cruisers, atmospheric stealth insertion, 0 civilian casualties unless resistance escalated. We expected silence or surrender. What we got was something else entirely. We landed in a dense urban sector marked on their network as San Diego, believing it to be strategically unimportant. It was, by our metrics, no central command, no weapon facilities, just buildings plastered with colorful signs and massive crowds. Oddly enough, many humans were dressed in armor, robes, and bizarrely ornate costumes. We assumed they were preparing for war. Later, we learned it was something called Comic-Con. The troops were ready, positioned, cloaked. First contact protocol demanded a formal announcement. We appeared above them in our exosuits, levitating for effect, weapons powered but hidden. The crowd roared in applause. Someone yelled, "Sick cosplay." We were confused. One trooper muttered, "Why are they cheering?" A human in what we now know was a Deadpool outfit pointed at our squad and shouted, "Yo, these guys went all out." I activated my translator. "People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Xerex Dominion. Remain calm and main character energy," someone yelled from below. The others laughed, filmed us with handheld devices, and posted us online in real time. That's when we made our second mistake. Among them stood a human, not in costume, not in armor. Just a plain black hoodie, cargo pants, and a slightly bored look in his eyes. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't excited. He just stared up at us with his hands in his pockets, completely unfazed. He looked cinematic. Somehow, our scanners tagged him with a statistical anomaly, 87% probability of social influence leadership. We misread that as a planetary commander signature. "Identify yourself," I ordered. The man raised an eyebrow. "I'm Jay Rivera. Are you their leader?" He blinked. "Am I what?" "You exhibit high confidence and appear central to their attention. You are either a diplomat or a strategic figurehead." He smirked. "Sure, let's go with that." Mistake number 3, we took him seriously. A soft blue light scanned his neural patterns. We didn't know it at the time, but humans can fake confidence even when they're deeply unqualified. Jay's biofeedback was practically screaming main character, focus, tension, unresolved potential. In Xerex war philosophy, such individuals are dangerous. Legendary rebels, warriors, leaders, they all start as statistical outliers. We flagged him for monitoring and left, assuming we had made contact with a compliant but charismatic local authority. That night, Earth's digital networks lit up with the footage. Millions of humans watched us descend, misinterpreting our appearance as some kind of marketing stunt or viral prank. Jay, meanwhile, posted a video with the caption, "Aliens landed. Asked if I'm in charge. I said yes. Let's ride. Hashtag main character mode." It got 12 million views in 2 hours. We monitor the comments with growing dread. "Bro just unlocked protagonist status. This is some season finale energy." I knew Earth was just waiting for its anime arc. By the time we realized the mistake, it was too late. Humans had started acting like they were in a story, like they mattered. And when a species believes it matters, it becomes dangerous. Sigma Protocol. At first, we thought it was a glitch in our network surveillance. Humans were broadcasting strange footage, clips of people leaping across rooftops, crafting weapons out of scrap metal, even staging monologues in front of mirrors. Our AI flagged the behavior as erratic but non-threatening. The trend was called hashtag main character mode, and it was spreading faster than any cultural meme we'd ever seen. In one video, a teenager with homemade armor yelled, "This is my origin story," while jumping off his porch. In another, a woman in business attire tossed her resignation letter in the air and walked into the street like it was the climax of a film. Dramatic music played over nearly all of them. They weren't preparing for war in the traditional sense. No one was building nukes or launching missiles. But something was shifting. Social energy, collective confidence, whatever you want to call it. It was real, and it was contagious. We started seeing group behavior change. Protest signs gave way to banners with quotes like, "I'm not a background character, and the arc begins here." Children began pretending to be spies. Adults started training in martial arts, parkour, or tactical posing. Our cultural division tried to analyze it. They called it narrative self-activation, a delusional state where individuals act like protagonists in a fictional story. But the results weren't delusional. Crime rates dropped. Emergency response time improved. Strangers helped each other on the streets, filming it all with cinematic angles and voiceover narration. It wasn't just an online trend anymore. It had become an emotional uprising. And at the center of it was Jay Rivera. He didn't start it. He didn't ask for it. But he embodied something they hadn't seen in a long time, calm in the face of absurdity. Our mistake had turned him into a symbol. Jay went quiet after the Comic-Con incident. He stopped posting. We assumed he backed away from the spotlight. We were wrong. He was organizing. By the end of the week, he'd been approached by a group of rogue hackers, engineers, and ex-military hobbyists who wanted to run it back like a sci-fi reboot. Somehow, they'd hacked into the abandoned comms panel of one of our drones. They started experimenting with the tech, probing our interface, testing reaction times. When we detected the breach and attempted to shut it down, the hacker team fired back a message that read, "You started the story. We're just writing the second act." Command wasn't amused. They initiated Protocol Sigma, a rare classification for unpredictable civil systems infected with what we call narrative instability. Most species never reach that stage. Humans sprinted into it within days. Our commander asked for a psychological profile of Jay Rivera. The result was frustratingly vague. Name, J. Matthew Rivera. Age, 28. Occupation, former barista, casual streamer, survival game enthusiast. Notable traits, high adaptability, sarcastic detachment, elevated stress tolerance, strong social pull despite no formal training. Threat assessment, main character potential, genre unknown. We watched surveillance footage of Jay and his growing team. A woman named Riya Patel, engineering student turned drone hacker. A former U.S. Marine, now going by the handle GhostDad 420. Even an elderly grandmother who built miniature robots in her garage. They were calling themselves plot armor, a joke, but one that seemed to resonate. They weren't soldiers. They were civilians playing out a fantasy. And it was working. They trained using VR simulations and alien blueprints they barely understood. They learned faster than we expected. Improvised weapons, hijacked drone tech, homegrown shields powered by car batteries and alien scraps. Our systems couldn't predict it because our models didn't account for belief. They had no tactical logic, only a sense that the world was giving them a hero's call. And when humans believe they're in a story, they don't back down. They escalate. In the skies above San Diego, one of our scout ships was disabled mid-flight. Not by a missile, by a modified potato cannon rigged with EMP nodes. Footage of the incident went viral with the caption, "Side characters? Nah. We're all part of the arc." Jay appeared at the end of the video, looking directly into the camera, hoodie on, arms folded. "Tell your empire," he said. "This isn't a cutscene. This is the tutorial." And just like that, the invasion wasn't about control anymore. It was about story, and the humans had decided it was their turn to write it. Plot armor activated. We were losing control, and we didn't even understand how. By our standards, the humans were disorganized, under-resourced, emotionally unstable. And yet, we couldn't outmaneuver them. Every time we deployed a suppression drone or activated a lockdown grid, they found a way around it, not through advanced tech, but sheer unpredictability. They didn't move like soldiers. They acted like characters in a movie, dramatic, irrational, and somehow always perfectly timed. We saw them forming small cells across the planet, not military units, not rebels. They call themselves side quests. Their missions: disrupt communications, hijack drones, or even just graffiti walls with lines like "The Ark is alive" or "NPC no more." And leading them all, whether he wanted to or not, was Jay Rivera. He hadn't declared himself leader. He never gave formal orders. But everywhere we turned, his name came up. In whispered conversations, on message boards, in memes. His presence had become mythological. A hoodie-clad nobody who stood still when the aliens landed, then disappeared, only to re-emerge weeks later turning scrap metal into tools of rebellion. Humans started dressing like him. Simple, low-profile clothes, calm expression, always carrying a drink. It became a look, main character mode. We tried to detain him twice. Failed both times. The first attempt, a unit of scout drones cornered him in an abandoned warehouse outside LA. Before they could fire, Jay held up a phone and calmly said, "Smile, you're live streaming." The feed hit the galactic net before we could cut the signal. Billions of views. Millions of comments from alien species across the stars. Why does this human look like he's already won? He knows something we don't. The second attempt failed even harder. He and his crew, a team of oddballs now known simply as Plot Armor, rigged a hologram trap that made us believe we'd captured him. We didn't realize it was fake until the Jay we had in custody exploded into glitter and confetti while the real Jay hijacked our comms channel and broadcast a message to the entire planet. You can't script real resistance, but you can soundtrack it. Then came the music. Within minutes, humans all over Earth began playing a synced playlist. An actual playlist. It started with cinematic drums, swelling strings, and then a beat drop that echoed through cities. People blasted it from phones, speakers, car stereos. It wasn't an attack. It was a tone shift, a global scene change. The next day, battles broke out in the most absurd places. A squad of Xerox enforcers overwhelmed in a shopping mall by teenagers using drones made of toy parts. An alien artillery bot taken down by a pair of elderly bikers using repurposed fireworks. A skirmish on the Brooklyn Bridge where Plot Armor held the line, deflecting plasma blasts with a hacked shield made from salvaged Xerox plating and reinforced kitchenware. And Jay, he didn't fight like a commander. He fought like a protagonist. He moved through chaos with eerie calm, calling out strategies like he was narrating a story he'd already seen play out. Third drone from the left is a decoy. Aim for the glowing bit under the chest. Trust me, people listened. And somehow he was always right. In one broadcast, Jay stood on the roof of a half-destroyed museum and addressed a small crowd of followers, mechanics, misfits, college dropouts, and a few confused tourists who'd accidentally joined the resistance. "Do you know what scared them?" he said, pointing to the sky. "Not our weapons, not our numbers. It was the moment we stopped acting like extras." He held up a piece of alien metal, still glowing faintly from recent use. "They don't know how to fight people who don't know they're supposed to lose." A cheer erupted. Back in orbit, our commanders scrambled. They issued one final directive: full tactical suppression. No more subtlety. No more mercy. The humans had shifted from subject species to narrative contagion. I stood in the command center, watching Earth flicker with fires and resistance signals. A junior officer whispered beside me, "Sir, what if we're not the main characters anymore?" I said nothing, because deep down I knew the answer. We weren't. You picked the wrong protagonist. By now, Earth wasn't a planet. It was a story, and we were no longer the authors. The Xerox Dominion had deployed everything short of planetary destruction. Drones blacked out cities. Disruptor pulses silenced satellites. Airspace was filled with armored carriers and bioscouts that could smell adrenaline. And yet, somehow, the humans kept rising. They weren't coordinated. Not really. Their movements weren't governed by logic or hierarchy. But they responded to one another like neurons in a brain lighting up, scattered, unpredictable, alive. It was chaos, and in that chaos, they found rhythm. Jay Rivera had become more than a person. He was a symbol. His name appeared in every resistance channel, in painted murals, in whispered stories told around solar-powered radios. There was no master plan, just conviction. I saw him again in person during what was supposed to be the final sweep. A high-priority strike team located him in the ruins of an old broadcast station. Intel said he was preparing a surrender message. They were wrong. He was building a transmitter. When we landed, Jay didn't run. He stood there, sleeves rolled up, hands stained with grease, a small team of humans working behind him. One of them looked up and said, "We've got 10 seconds until signals sync." Jay looked at me, not with fear or anger, but with that same frustrating calm. "You still think this is about you, don't you?" he asked. "We warned you," I said. Submission meant survival. He smiled, just a little. "See, that's the problem. You thought survival was our endgame. You thought we'd just exist quietly under your boot." The transmitter flared to life. All across the planet, every screen, every speaker, every connected signal began broadcasting one thing: stories. Not propaganda. Not orders. Just stories. Videos of a nurse shielding children from a collapsing building. A teenager using salvage tech to save a flooded village. A group of strangers building a solar generator out of scraps. And Jay's voice narrating over it all. "You came here thinking you'd find submission. But what you really found was belief. Not in governments. Not in armies. In each other. You gave us the spark. We turned it into a fire. Command tried to jam the signal. Too late. It was already bouncing through human-made satellites, pirate networks, and hardwired towers powered by bicycle pedals if necessary. It wasn't about information anymore. It was about momentum. That night, humans pushed back like never before. Not because they had better weapons. Because they believed they could win. And sometimes, belief is enough to break a strategy. Drones fell out of the sky not from bullets, but from interference pulses created in garage labs. Entire squadrons abandoned missions when human civilians walked toward them, unarmed, chanting lines from movies and quoting Jay like scripture. One battle was lost when a group of kids hacked into a dropship and reprogrammed its targeting system to recognize motivational posters as threats. It spiraled into a loop trying to destroy every hang-in-there cat image in sight. We'd invaded a world. They'd activated a genre. Back on our mothership, I stood before the holographic council. Our grand strategist, a six-eyed being older than most empires, hissed one word that would echo across generations. "Withdraw." Just like that, it was over. No treaty. No apology. We simply left. Because what do you do when a planet refuses to be background noise? When they choose to believe in plot twists? Weeks later, on the edge of known space, I found myself watching a bootleg human documentary titled, "We Are All the Main Character Now." It wasn't made by a filmmaker. Just a nurse with an old camcorder and a lot of courage. The final scene showed Jay standing on a beach, staring at the sky. Someone asked him off camera, "Do you think it's over?" He didn't answer right away. Then he looked at the camera and said, "They thought they picked a weak species. They just picked the wrong protagonist." Fade to black. Underscore 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 underscore. Humans never became an empire. They didn't need to. They became something harder to predict. A spark in every system. A question mark on every map. A living story. And I, HFYStories, once first strategist of the Dominion, now write reports no one reads, studying the one truth I never expected to write. Humanity didn't win because they were strong. They won because they refused to believe they weren't.